Ship.
Ship.
Say time for fellowship.
Ship.
Close enough. Welcome back to Time for Fellowship, ladies and gentlemen. We're on today with Matt and his daughter, Zoe.
Say hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, Matt. Well, that's a fun little intro from your daughter.
Yeah, for sure. And, so all of our listeners are aware we're at the new house and recording here. Andrew was nice enough to come on out so that I could keep working on stuff up until the very last minute of him getting here to record, because we're still trying to unpack and settle in.
Yeah, and for our listeners, me and Matt just recorded about 10 minutes that we thought we recorded and then realized the record button wasn't on, so now we're trying to scramble to
remember what we talked about. Yeah.
I think maybe it's for the best. The listeners are going to get a second take.
Right. Yeah, we can cut out the breathing ASMR that we did for them this time around.
Yeah, they're going to miss out on that. We just got through our talk, and then we clicked the music button, and then I looked down and went, this isn't even recording.
Right.
So this is how knackered we are. And we're partially knackered because yesterday Matt and I worked a 16-hour shift at the local polling site.
Yep.
For our listeners, our lodge and the local Star chapter, Vega chapter, we do a joint adopt-a-site where we basically have a couple of volunteers from both bodies, and they basically get volunteers to fill out the entire thing. And it was a long day.
Oh, it was a very long day. Though, Mike and Dawn do an excellent job staffing that thing and organizing it all and acting as chiefs the day of. And, it was for as busy as it was right away when the polls opened in the morning, it was a very smooth day. I felt like we really had a rhythm. We had good teamwork going on. We were getting a lot of good compliments from the election observers.
Yeah, we had a couple of them be like, you guys really did a good job. And it's scary because sometimes I'll make eye contact with them and I'll see them being like, the viewers can't see me making a face. They'll do like a pondering face where they're like, what is he doing?
Right.
And you're like, oh, no, don't say something. I'm fine, right?
Well, and, considering the four of us working the registration table registered like 240 new voters or change of addresses or whatever we had to deal with over there, by the end of the day, that just, and then you got we had 5 election observers there. So it was kind of just it seemed very high pressure with all those observers there, but still trying to get things done efficiently, but making sure you were doing everything perfectly. It was a long day. Yeah.
And I mean, we always try to run a very clean adopt-a-site to the books, efficient, try not to get slowdowns to make the democratic process as easy as possible, as painless as possible. I mean, we didn't really turn anyone away because we would find a way at the registration table to be like, all right, this proof of residency won't work. Pull up your phone, grab your utility bill. We can find a way to show that you live there if you live there, because there'll be documentation and we can help you find it. We're going to make you get registered so you can get this done so that, you don't want to send anyone away if you don't have to.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, we worked through a lot of interesting ones. And, the only reason I was ultimately able to be there, though, was because I had so much help moving on Saturday from a bunch of brothers. And, we got it done really quickly and easily. And I really appreciate everybody that came out and helped. I know I fed you once already with pizza and beer, but you guys got a barbecue coming your way this spring as well. So
I'll take some of your brisket in my mouth.
Yep. We'll get you some world-class brisket.
Cool. Well, yeah, so it's a busy day. We're out here day after doing another podcast, so we'll kick the music and kick this thing off.
Sounds
and
good.
This time, I'm 100% sure we're recording.
Ooh, that's a good thing.
In 10 seconds, we'll be like, all right, take 3.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
If we have to do a take 3, we're just not releasing an episode this week.
Well,
so
I feel bad they're going to miss out on me saying that I forget to breathe when talking on the mic. Which
yeah,
I feel
we're not going down that road again.
Which I feel like they can guess because how fast I talk sometimes. I forgot to breathe again.
Well, yeah. That does happen, though. You're sitting here talking, all of a sudden you're like, oh, crap. And then, or you're listening to your headphones and you go, I can hear myself breathing.
Or you're sitting there and you're talking and you're like, oh my God, if I have to stop to breathe, I'm going to like start gasping. You'll be like, I can't. You're like, dude, don't forget to breathe.
Or the train of thoughts coming so fast that you're just like, I got to get this out before I have to breathe again.
You know, I think I know why sometimes I don't do the breathing, because we were talking about how you have to remember to always lean back from the mic when you're breathing so you don't give breath ASMR in the microphones. I think it's because when I'm close to the mic, you're like, all right, don't make breathing noises.
Right.
And so then if you do that for too long, you just forget to breathe.
Right. It's I'm in on the mic. I have to say my piece and then get out of here and go.
Yeah,
right.
I know, exactly.
We're your professionally unprofessional Masonic podcast. Just please remember that.
Please remember, we're just trying to remember to breathe here. But yeah, today we were going to talk about how we are finally, it's for most people in our jurisdiction, this is basically, we're rounding third base on the end of our Masonic year. So with that, Matt, how you feeling? You got 2 meetings left.
I'm tired. Not just because of that. I mean, it's been a great year. I feel phenomenal about the way this year went. There's a couple bumps in the road, like there always will be for anyone, but, it's been pretty smooth sailing. We've accomplished a lot. 17 events, and the day this episode releases, we're conferring our 12th degree of the year. We've done a lot. We've done a lot really well, and I think that is a testament to all of the officers from senior warden on down and everybody else who pitches in and helps, and the secretary and treasurer and the whole 9 yards. And everybody put in a lot of work this year, and it was great to see. And I feel fortunate and lucky to have the team that I had behind me, because you guys were the ones that made all this possible. It wasn't me. I did nothing but lay out a map. You guys followed it and dug up the treasure. So
that's why I've been having more whiskey lately.
Because I drove you nuts.
No, it was a good year. It's just we were so active. I mean, even when at the start of the year we were looking and you had an aggressive calendar, we didn't realize how much degree work we were going to have going at the time.
Right.
And yeah, when both came hand in hand, we were very busy this year.
As we talked about, though, on our first take, it was all front-loaded into just the first 10 months of the year. So,
yeah, exactly. Just on the first 10 months of the year.
Just the first 10 months. I just asked you guys to work very hard for the first 10 months.
Yeah, and it's always weird when you get to the the last leg, where I've always noticed over the years being in various officers' roles, it's always on this last 2-3 months that I feel like everyone kind of starts to feel tired. Everyone's like, oh, because the whole year's behind you and you're like, wow. And you're looking back and you're like, oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well,
and then you're restored at your installation day, the next one, and you're like, oh, now I have a new job. And then you rinse, repeat another year. And then the last 2 months is always kind of like it's like finishing a race where you just kind of like hustle through and you're like, oh, God.
Yep.
My body hurts.
Yep. Well, and installation provides that rejuvenation because it's excitement to be in a new position. It's also nervousness to be in a new position because I know every time I went up another chair, my nerves were crazy. Wanting to ensure that I did a excellent job and everything else, and I worked my butt off and did what I was supposed to. And
I'm not nervous.
You should be.
I think I was nervous going into junior warden, but going from junior warden to senior warden, knowing the differential responsibilities, like they are different, right? The thing is the nerves for the junior warden is, one, you have to confer a degree, right? Entered apprentice in our lodge at least. And you have to do all the event stuff and all that stuff. Going into the senior warden, they're like, all right, you're going to do the wellness stuff and you have to confer a different degree. And I go, okay, so the nervousness from going to a deacon to having to do all that stuff to having to do all the events and going, okay, now you're going to have a little less busyness during the week, but you have other responsibilities.
Right.
I'm significantly less nervous.
Yeah, well, don't forget about that big portion of senior warden responsibilities that you left out of your list.
What?
Planning your entire year.
Easy.
You say that.
No, that's not good. That doesn't bug me as much though, because there's less like pressure on it the whole time. It's nice that you are given the time to kind of observe and learn, and to kind of try to get your calendar in advance, which I intend to do, and then doing the wellness phone calls are lodged as wellness checks on everyone. I already did that during COVID.
Right.
So I'm used to doing that. I'm used to getting hung up on from my brothers, trying to call see if they're okay.
Since we know, if elected, our next worshipful master listens to the podcast, I think what Andrew is saying is that he's going to need more work his senior warden year.
Nope, I lied. I'm actually very nervous.
See, oh, you could get yourself in trouble very quickly there.
I'm just shivering in my boots, shivering away.
No, it's been like this since I've been a Mason, where it's like, you hustle, you're really pushing, and then you come into like November and December, and you're getting a little bit tired, and it seems like the year's maybe drug on a bit, but you do have that excitement of the new positions, and you also have the fact that this is really we should be focusing on our families year round, but this is a particular time of year where you really need to be focusing on your families and stuff like that between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And
whose houses are you going to?
Right. Who's cooking, what gifts you have to buy, shopping, getting your house ready for the winter if you need to,
I have to winterize.
Does the snowblower start? Did I turn off the hose bibs? Did I,
I already turned off the hose bibs last week because we had that cold snap. Yep, but I don't even have a snowblower. What am I going to do? Manual
shovel.
Labor.
Manual labor.
Again.
It's good for you.
I've always used a shovel. But yeah, I agree. It is definitely you kind of have to tone back this time of the year because this is a very demanding 2 months too.
Well, and there's the most important Wisconsin holiday of all, the 10-day gun deer season, and bow hunting's going on. I mean, you can't overlook that stuff.
It definitely pulls brothers away for sure, having to get up in their stands.
Yep, got to get that deer. So
open their deer lodges.
I mean, I haven't missed opening day of gun deer season since I was 12 years old. So come hell or high water, I'm out in the woods on opening day.
Yep. Yeah, and it's always interesting. One thing I always like about the end of the Masonic year, or the approaching end, I'm sure we'll do an episode at the very end, really recapping a little more.
We'll probably do the same dumb thing we did last year and record an episode the day after installation.
Oh, God. But so the thing is like, one of the fun things I always like looking forward to is not only moving up so that I have new stuff to do and new ritual to learn, and and then every new year comes with its new things, new adventures, new interesting things happening, is watching the officers behind me coming up to getting new responsibilities is always fun too, to be like, all right, let's see what these guys got. Like, because for a long time, for a whole year at least, the same voices have kind of been in the room, right? And hold on, Matt's trying to steal a toy from his dog. Play by play. He's opening the box. So for our listeners, Matt's dog took a toy, put it in one of our podcasting recording boxes, shut the box with his nose to hide it, and then has now come back to unbox his toy.
Oh. Keep bumping the table. No, he was sniffing around like he wanted to lay down over there.
He wanted to be on the podcast. He's trying to get himself a microphone.
I was trying to move some stuff out of the way to accommodate his being able to lay down and chill.
Oh.
Because, he's only been in the new house since Monday because we had him at the place we board him at when we go out. So he's still adjusting at this point to his new surroundings. Can you grab that minion off the couch? That's not his. Thank you.
So yeah, but what I was saying was how basically, like, for a long time for a year, had the same voices in the room. We're kind of working the same stuff, which, nothing wrong with that. But it's always fun when the dynamic changes in the next year, where you're like, all right, now there's new people in the room and there's new ideas and new stuff. It's always just an interesting transition to be like, all right, now what's this year's deal? What's the personalities this year? What are we doing? And it's always kind of fun.
Well, and, the vision remains the same and the state of Lake is good. And I feel like our officer line really does have like a solid, we're all moving in the same direction concept. There is going to be a difference in leadership style, right? Assuming assuming that Jeff gets elected, it's going to be a difference in leadership style. Him and I have two different ways of approaching things. Our hearts are both in the right place, and we both agree on the direction the lodge is moving in. We just have different ways of getting it done.
Yeah, he's going to be our worshipful daddy.
I so dare you to call him that.
You know for a fact, without a doubt, that is going to happen multiple times during various meetings. I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to correct myself, be like, worshipful daddy, master, and then I'll he's going to hate it.
He is...
He's walking his dog right now, being like, "What the fuck? He was saying he's gonna call me daddy."
Why do you have to say that on the podcast?
I'm not his daddy. Cool, but yeah, you think that you're gonna be getting a break, but then of course you're going right back into the officer's line again. You glutton for punishment.
I am, but I'm also going back in at my favorite chair, so. And I pretty much know all the parts with minimal reviews, so it's not really going to be a ton of work. It's, senior deacon. I've been there, done that. I'm going to work to do a great job at it again, but I'm looking forward to it. That's my favorite chair in the lodge. I think we've talked about that before.
Are you nervous?
No.
Hey, Jeff, can you please give Matt more work because he's not nervous about his position?
I'm not a warden of the lodge, so there's a difference.
Everybody needs work. Everybody needs work.
Yeah, I'll have plenty of work. Okay. If I don't feel like I have enough, I find some for myself.
Yeah, that's kind of true. We both do that a little bit. But yeah, it's exciting to have been. We have the meeting next month where I'll be. Oh my God, I have to plan my meal. I'm going to do like a...
Well, the meeting next week, you mean?
Oh, God.
That you have to plan your meal for.
Yeah,
we have an MM the day this episode comes out.
Yeah.
The one that we're doing for Brother Lee, who's from another lodge that we're helping out to raise.
Yep.
And then we have our stated meeting.
Yeah.
Which we have elections at, which you guys should be excited and potentially a little nervous about, as you will be closing in your newly elected or appointed chairs.
Been there, done that, not nervous.
Yeah. No, you better know the senior warden parts. That's all I'm saying.
I've already done them. I already did it. I covered for a lodge doing it.
Yeah, there you go. And then we have our December meeting, which is actually 2 days before installation.
Yep, and of course this year the meal is not after. Our state is not after,
right.
So I get one more meal that I wasn't anticipating.
Yeah. Well, you've ended up with 13 meals, although you haven't been there for a few because of the kiddo and stuff like that.
Thank God.
Right, yeah, but you ended up with 13 meals, just like I ended up with 13 meetings because of the way things fell.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm looking forward to being able to take a step back and actually maybe read a book for enjoyment rather than studying for degrees or working on lodge business, being able to take some time to actually do some more entertaining things every now and then.
I'm looking forward to not going to the grocery store and racking up a $250 bill of lodge groceries and then trying to get it to the place.
$250. That wasn't your budget.
Yeah, that's fine. And no, you said that I can offset it. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's usually like $150.
You've been under budget all year. You're good.
Yeah, no, but it's always just like trying to do the planning and then working two events in your head at the same time. I'm looking forward to being able to focus on the brethren more, not always on the events, like focus on the wellness, try to check in on people and stuff like that. It's just kind of a nice change of pace, I think.
So you touched on two very important things about being junior warden, especially like at Lake, where we cook for events, we cook for meals, we do that kind of stuff, right? And so the first point you touched on is you always have to be thinking about the event you're currently going to be doing and the next event. So it's like you're either thinking about a stated meeting and spaghetti, or a stated meeting and the next stated meeting, or a stated meeting and an MM degree you need to get a cake for, or so you become very good at multitasking and keeping yourself organized on multiple things there. And the other thing is, and it sometimes really sucks, is you have your stewards with you. You have people come in and check and maybe help you in the kitchen and stuff like that. But you and your stewards are almost on an island.
You are.
You don't get that hour of fellowship time, sitting down out in fellowship hall, having dinner with all the brothers and getting to talk to everybody and everybody else. You're back in the kitchen. You get to talk to them in passing if they come back there and talk to you, or as they go through the line to get their food. But yeah, you kind of feel a little disconnected from it all. And it is nice to get to the senior warden spot and be able to get back in there.
But you got to know that I've never gotten in there. So I went from
oh yeah, that's true.
Junior steward.
Yeah.
So I was in the kitchen. Then I was senior steward, but then I was junior deacon pro temp.
Yep.
Filling in. So I was doing the position of the junior deacon, but I wasn't out of the kitchen. Yep. Then as I was senior deacon, me and you were both still helping in the kitchen most of the time to support Jeff. So I was still in the kitchen. And then I went into the kitchen as the senior warden, so I have never left. Well, since I've been a Mason, I've been in the kitchen the whole time.
Welcome to the other side of the counter in a couple months.
You know what? That's what I'm actually nervous about, is getting out from behind the counter.
The water's nice out there. You'll like it.
Well, and I was reviewing a book that what did I show you at the poll last
night?
The
Worshipful Master's Assistant?
Yeah, the Worshipful Master's Assistant, and it goes through, I mean, that book's pretty old, so some of the roles are a little bit different, but it was talking about the roles of each chair, which eventually here on the podcast we're going to do a breakout on that too for episode content and some good education. And it was talking about like the role of the senior warden. A lot of it is meeting and making sure you know everyone who's in the room, who's visiting, getting all that stuff. And I am kind of looking forward to kind of putting myself in the not just, I'll talk to my friends, but just trying to talk to everyone who's coming in the room and saying hello, welcoming them, making sure that they're feeling welcomed and that they have people to talk to, that they're not wandering off and staring at the master's photos, the telltale side that they're asking for help. If you're staring at the master's photos, it's usually a cry for help, in my opinion.
Yeah, anytime.
Not always, but...
Not always. If there's not a lot of people there and you got somebody walking around, wandering, kind of looking at all the stuff on the walls and stuff like that, But if they're doing that for like an hour and a half, then it's time to rein them in and sit them down with some people.
I won't give them an hour and a half. Especially if it's the first time someone's been in the building. I get it. They're just trying to look at stuff. But if it's like the second time, you've already reviewed these master's photos. Now you don't know how to get introduced to a conversation. And when I was senior deacon, I would also chase those people down and be like, hey, come talk to me a little bit. I'm gonna grab you a group of people and I'm gonna be like, hey, talk to these guys. Get to know these guys. And I'll pass them off into a conversation to help break the ice and be like, come on in. Because there's nothing worse than when you come in, especially some people aren't as outgoing as I am, and it can be hard to jump into a random group of people and be like, I guess I'll go be friends with these guys. Like, it can help to have someone kind of lead you in. Right.
Nope, I agree. It's a good way to handle it. I am looking forward to, I thought maybe as worshipful I'd have, as much time to interact with all the brethren as I did, like senior warden year where I was out there and talking to everybody and stuff like that. But then you find yourself, with last minute agenda changes or last minute paperwork to fill out or 20 questions to answer. And all of a sudden you're not doing those interactions, or, you're interacting with somebody you didn't expect to because you have a potential petitioner that decided to show up and stuff like that. So all good stuff. I mean, and that all goes with the job. But I'm kind of looking forward to having some responsibilities taken off and being back in a position where, again, one of my jobs is to be doing all that, is to be talking to everybody and enjoying.
Well, we'll see. I got bad news. So I was talking to worshipful brother Brad, who's our treasurer, and he says there's a nifty list of officers' responsibilities that Lake used to have.
Ooh.
And it was more intense.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been dusted off in a while, and I said, I'd like to find that and be like, I was talking with some people. I was like, let's really define, because we've talked in this podcast before about defining roles.
Mm-hmm.
I do think some of the middle roles, like the deacons, their roles get a little wishy-washy in the wash, where some deacons are doing some years, some deacons have a bunch of stuff to do because of just the personality of the deacon. Like you said, they find work and then they end up kind of getting associated with it. Some years they can kind of be left in the middle where they're like, oh yeah, I get there and I do my ritual and prepping and I'll support certain committees, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But I want to go find that. I believe it's in the Google Drive.
Well,
track it down.
As my very first action 2 months early as a grumpy past master, I'm going to look at you and go, no.
Well, good news. You'll be my subordinate. you'll be
man,
back
that's
at
right.
the bottom.
We completely reverse roles, assuming that I end up getting, going all the way through again. We would completely reverse roles. I'll be your junior warden.
Yeah.
Oh, no. No. All right, I got to watch what I say. Anything negative I've ever said about you, I take back right now, and I'm deeply, deeply apologetic for.
I think you said you wanted more responsibility. Is what I think I remember you saying. Oh, how the table turns table.
Oh, okay, Michael Scott.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to wrapping up this year. This is actually the first time that I'm not staring at 2 events at the same time.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that I do our social media work for Lodge, which always a recommendation that I kind of realized during this year is doing the event advertising and running the event. That's a hard mix.
Oh,
because
yeah. Yep.
Because then you're literally, there's so much event on your brain at all time. It's almost too much.
Well, that's why we got you an understudy now.
Yep, I think it's important that once lodges learn how to do that stuff, because I didn't have any background, I didn't have an art degree. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a very learnable skill, is to always train your replacement at all times in every position, because at a certain point, like when you're a steward or a deacon, certain responsibilities that you're doing on the side can be like awesome. It fits in with your stuff.
Yep.
But then when you get into a higher position, you're like, these together are hard. And you're like, to do at the same time, And so it's been all events.
Yeah,
all
no,
year.
that is a lot to have on one person's plate, but you've handled it well and you've managed it well. I am really glad though to see that you've managed to find somebody who would take an interest in making the flyers and working on that.
And does a good job and has some past experience with it too.
Right. And he's starting to cut his teeth on it. He's done a good job with what he's done so far. And it's good to see that, we are adhering to that always be training your replacement thing, because that is really, really important. That's what ensures continuity and future success for that matter. Well, though, are you done nesting over there? Figure it out, bud.
But and it also helps create, like, if you make something that's good and that it works, when it's housed with only one person, if that person leaves or something happens, or they or they become a past master and they're not willing to do it anymore, suddenly that it just disappears. And you just go, yep. You always, if it works and it's something that's helpful and it's a skill that's a benefit to the lodge, you should always, if someone's willing to learn, pass it on. Or pass on the skills.
Or, if life just happens, you could have somebody being assigned to a certain job. They're the only one that knows how to do it. And, they get into a car accident and are in the hospital for 2 weeks. And it's a time critical task that only they know how to do.
Or they get moved for work out of town.
Yeah. So it is important to have backups, and it is important to be training your replacement. So, and we all have to look at it that way. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up with that kind of stuff, is that you're like, no, this is my job. And if I'm the only one that knows how to do it and the only one that does it well, then I have job security, and they always have to have me around and have me in the loop. But if you have somebody who's a competent replacement, you lose that bargaining chip, that hold over it, that reason to always be there, right? So, training your replacement can be difficult, but if what you truly care about is a successful future of your lodge or the organization that you're involved in, you need to be training that replacement to ensure things continue to operate even in your absence.
Well, and the key is if it's something too that you're very good at, like, you're the best person to train it, because the fact of the matter is there's probably been other situations where someone else has done a similar job somewhere else and been not very good at it, and then someone else has to do it, and then they're not very good at it, then someone else has to do it, because they're all reinventing the wheel over and over and over and over, and they never get to an excellent level because they didn't have any person who did that trained their replacement to say, hey, I learned a lot of these tricks and tips, I can pass it on, so then you can start at a higher level and maintain a higher level of excellence, which I think is huge, especially when we're in a volunteer organization. We're not doing interviews for these positions. It's just someone who's willing to step up and try to learn it. Right.
Exactly. And I feel like, that's part of the reason I'm coming into the end of my year, and like, am I a little bit sad to be leaving the East? Sure. But I'm also confident in Lake's future after I'm out, because I trust everybody that's coming up behind me. because
you're not even out. You're just going back in. I'm a little sad.
But it's a total change. I'm like you alluded to earlier. I'm right back to being a subordinate. It's different, right? And I'm going to treat it different. You know, I'm not going to look at it like, hey, I'm a past master in the line. I want you guys to use me for my wisdom, but I'm looking at it from I am whatever position that I'm in at that point, right? And that's my role and my responsibilities.
Well, we're also kind of lucky that you're going in at the same time as Jeff is ascending to the east, if elected, because it is going directly in from the current master right into a chair. That puts like a really weird, delicate balance in where, so like people will always have a tendency to try to look at you because you're the most recent master. Mm-hmm. But Jeff is also a past master.
Right.
And so it's actually kind of nice timing because if, for example, a less strong leader were to be ascending and then you were going to line, it could always create this weirdness where people are like, well, I know Matt knows the answer.
Right.
But like, so it can be kind of complicated sometimes too, because you have to kind of yourself push people away from you being like, I know the answer, go ask the master. I know the answer, go ask the master to try to break the habit.
Right.
Because you have to help switch in their mind. You're going, yeah, I'm switching to a subordinate.
Right.
You have to help switch that switch in people's minds too. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of an interesting dynamic.
Well, and I think that transition will be easy enough. You know, Jeff and I have had interesting power dynamics between the two of us our entire relationship, honestly, because you know we did the whole Low 12 thing, which we're both founders of, but, you know, I ended up being pres of that. He's vice pres, you know, and then, you know, he was an AA he was an AA and a DD when I started out my Masonic career, and, you know, and then he got brought back into the line, but I was ahead of him in the line by a chair, so then we had that going on, but he was still a Grand Lodge officer, so like,
I guess
you
that's
know,
true.
like we've always had these like quirky, and you know it has come up before where people, you know, went to Jeff and were like, hey Jeff, blah 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 blah, and Jeff was like,
nope.
I understand why you're asking me, but I'm not the person you need to talk to. You need to talk to the master. So, you know, and that'll be reciprocated with, you know, me even being there.
Well, that's the thing one thing that I have also learned from Jeff is he's pretty good at, like, if he's coming into my kitchen right now, he won't take charge. He'll be like, nope, Andrew, what's next? You're telling me. I'm not telling you. You're telling me. Because, I mean, Jeff is pretty rude. I mean, ex-military. He's pretty good at chain of command stuff.
Yep.
Where he's like, nope, I'm below. Nope, you're not switching this on me. I'm not planning your pancake breakfast. You're planning it and telling me what to do and switching the role.
Right.
And if you even do, he just pushes it right back to you. He's like, nope, you do it.
Yep.
Nope, you
exactly.
do it. Yeah, he's pretty good at that. I've learned that from him too, to learn how to put your mindset into the task and the position that you're filling for that task.
Right. No, and that's always been smooth between us, and I think it will continue to be. I'm actually kind of excited because it's going to be fun to sit as his senior deacon.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm gonna prod him the whole time. So
yep. You got to prod him to let me keep the columns.
Hey, I'm not the master. I have no control over that.
So for our listeners, like a year ago, we had a lodge merge with us, and I've always wanted there to be columns at our lodge. And the lodge that merged with us used columns at their meetings. And I went, sweet, this is a great way to honor them, to say, you know, the PCU comes with us, but also a great way to add something that I've always wanted. Win-win. But our senior warden has hated them the entire time. And he makes a point of noticing that he's better at remembering them, though he hates them, to switch them. And so the columns in a lodge for different jurisdictions who aren't aware, there'll be a column that sits, so imagine like a small pillar, column that sits in the junior warden station and in the senior wardens. And depending which one's up and down will signify if you're in labor if you were formal or informal, labor and refreshment, et cetera, right? And so you'll switch them when it goes into formal business or informal. And I always forget. And the only reason my senior warden remembers is because he hates him so much. I'm convinced. So now that he is going to be ascending the east, he says he's going to get rid of him. And I've made a point to explain to him that that's just lazy. So we need to keep him.
Oh,
so
man, we are talking about a lot of stuff on this podcast.
Well, we haven't got to hang out in a while,
Right,
on the
true.
podcast. But so the thing is that what I'm asking you, Matt, is you got to keep a bug in his ear to keep them columns because he doesn't even need to touch them no more.
Hey, I'll poke that bear, but ultimately his decision is the decision.
yeah, but it just seems like lack of effort and hard work. So you just got to hope that they stay, right?
I will agree with you there. I think it's just another thing to add to the list of things we can say Lake does well if we keep them around.
I think that using them, it like feels very like a call to like the past craft, like an old tradition that seems fun. And even if it wasn't something I was traditionally with and something we did at Lake, it still feels like it's a callback to older craft, free and accepted masonry. But yeah, it's fun.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. I do like those things that like maybe do have historical relevance that have maybe gotten lost over time, but do give you like a connection to like, potentially what your brothers back in the 1700s were doing, and it does have that fun, like, ooh, we're doing it the way they did it 300 years ago.
And I've always just assumed that if something is more simple and something is more complex, sometimes, and it's probably a false assumption, the complex thing is usually lost because people are just like, let's just make it simpler.
Yeah, no, I hear you there.
I think like in the things that we do as Freemasons, I think the complexity of it is what kind of makes it cool and interesting too. Yep. That every part of it is thought out and every aspect of it has a meaning and a purpose and a symbol and a reason. And I think the more of that you add, the more impressive it is.
I'll give you that.
Even if I forget to do it.
I'll give you that. I guess I could see your argument about it being lazy to get rid of them. And
it's just trying to make things more simple.
Right. Definitely the easy way out.
And I don't want people to think that we're not a hard-working lodge.
Oh, if we did not lay it on thick enough right there, then nothing's going to change his mind.
This episode is just going to be titled "The Bros Talk About Daddy."
The Bros talk about everything because we recorded that one over the phone together, but like honestly, we haven't gotten to sit down on microphones in the same room in like a month.
Yeah, I know. This is we do this periodically where we have topic, and then we just go, Matt and Andrew go down rabbit holes together and talk about life, what's going on in their lives, stuff like that. So
and just whatever, and hopefully maybe there'll be some golden nugget in there, and you guys will find some little pearl in our random babbling of stuff.
Well, no, and it's fitting because we haven't got to catch up with our listeners in like a month together talking about where, people, yeah. I guarantee everyone was just sitting on the edge of their seat being like, man, what's happening with these columns?
Man, I was sitting on the edge of my seat wondering when we were going to release another episode so I could actually listen to it. My Thursday mornings were boring.
Yep. Cool. Well, any last remarks you want to give about the third round and third base?
Yeah.
Yeah. As we try to think how we got here.
Right. I guess I think my big key is like, look, if you've done a good job in whatever chair you're sitting in or even as a sideliner at your lodge and you've supported your lodge's events and you've worked hard as an officer and you're proud of what you have done this year, just remember that you also need to take time to yourself to be able to reset a little bit, and now is that time. This November, December, going into installation season, it is that time to just go and get ready to do it all again.
Breath ASMR. Patreon free.
Brought it back around.
Cool. Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. Sounds good to me. So we will then move on to news and events. Can you guys believe it?
We're going to actually do some news and events.
Yep.
All right, now it's time for news and events. Wisconsin Lodge number 13 celebrated 175 years of being a lodge back on September 29th. They had a public opening and did a reconsecration ceremony. They had a little party afterwards. It sounded like the event was hit. So congratulations on 175 years, guys.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Right? That's always awesome. I love seeing lodges be around that long.
Those are some of the coolest events. The what are those called? The
reconsecrations.
Yeah, reconsecrations.
Yeah,
those are awesome.
No, they are super cool. That was awesome when we did it for our 150th a couple of years ago.
That's fun. They're 175.
Yep, 175.
Ooh.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. Absolutely.
All right, on to an event. As we are approaching the end of the year here, events kind of start to slow down until we hit installation season, like we had kind of touched on during this episode of whatever we ended up talking about.
Part of the episode, yeah. How we started.
Somewhere in there. Anyways, Triple I Shrine does have their Festival of Trees going on the week of Thanksgiving. Please visit Triple I's website for more details on that, and please go out and support it. It's actually a wonderful event. A bunch of different trees. You buy a bunch of raffle tickets and try to win some of them. They come with a whole bunch of different stuff, and it's pretty awesome. And if you have small children, they will absolutely love looking at all of it. I believe there's pictures with Santa as well. It's really well done.
And I believe also, if you're not in the Milwaukee area, the Sparta Masonic Center, the Zor Shrine, also does Festival of Trees. I think it's around the same time, 18th through the 23rd.
Yep, that sounds about Thanksgiving
I think they're all doing around Thanksgiving weekend. And they also have it going on in, what's it called? Wisconsin Rapids.
Oh, right on.
Has one going on, and that's going to be the 29th, 30th. It's basically the 29th, 30th, December 1st, 2nd, 7th, and 8th. So it basically starts Black Friday and goes through Saturdays and then Sundays, and it goes for 2 weekends.
Oh, right on.
And that's from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Wisconsin Rapids. Yep. So, yeah, a nice, you can basically, wherever you live, you can find a festival of trees near you.
Perfect. And then, we are coming up on installation season. So as we get the list of various installations going on in D12 or across the state, and if you want us to plug your installation because it's going to be something special, please let us know, and we will start plugging people's installations in upcoming episodes here.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Well, it was great to actually record in person again.
Yep, it was great to be back in person, and then we should be able to start doing this going forward because our lives are getting easier, probably.
Right. Yeah. Well, the move is done. So, and I think there might be a live from Deer Camp episode potentially coming up in the future. So
live from Deer Camp Part 2.
Well, we did Turkey Camp, so now we got to do Deer Camp. Probably a lot of familiar voices, but probably a different conversation.
Live from the tree stand.
Yeah, no, we're not going that far. Not that far. We'll do it live from the cabin. How's that sound? Yeah, it's not good. Like all four of us huddle into the same tree stand.
Just get like wireless mics. And, oh my God, I see a deer.
Yeah,
oh no, do you?
we can span the 43 acres we cover, with some wireless mics. Sure.
Connect an antenna to one of the deers and away you go.
Let it run around between all of us.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, Andrew, this has been fun again, and I'm sure in the next couple of episodes we'll have some more directed topics, but we kind of needed to air this one out.
Yeah, we just needed to get the talking out of our system. But yeah, we'll be back with you guys next week, and thanks for tuning in. And
thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials, and you have a great day.
All right, take care.